This is the Haygate Estate. It housed 1,200 council families but was deemed non-viable and demolished last year. The Haygate Estate is part of a £3 billion grand regeneration of Elephant and Castle. Aylesbury Estate, just down the road, is one of the largest council estates in Europe and is next in line for demolition. Jerry Flynn and his family used to live on the Haygate until they were moved off to make way for the demolition. Southwark Council had promised Haygate residents that they would be moved onto new homes called early housing sites.
So when was the realisation that what you had been promised initially had been broken?
I think we all came to the realisation at different times. I mean, the big realisation was in 2007. I think when Southwark Council says, right, you've got to move out, and they hadn't built any of the early housing sites, I think everybody realised then they'd been stuffed, frankly. Social housing does not make the developer money. And so on the Haygate Estate, where we had 1,200 council homes, we're only going to get 79 social rented homes. And that's when they're doubling the amount of homes they're building on the estate. It is something that I look upon, and I think a lot of other people do look upon, as the beginning of a regeneration in which we have no part.
Yeah, I think you can see over here a great pile of rubble just behind those trees there. I think that might have been once where I lived. I mean, some people seem to think that it's all to the goods, you know, that pretty ugly place. Knock it down, you're doing everybody a great favour. But obviously, if these are homes where people lived and they were the only homes that they could afford, you're doing nobody a favour.
After receiving a compulsory purchase order, the Haygate leaseholders were forced to move out and buy elsewhere. These lines represent where each leaseholder household moved to. The money they received for their homes was not enough to buy in the local area, so they were pushed further out of London. Southwark Council said the economic downturn had a huge impact on the speed with which they could complete the new housing sites. They say thousands more homes of every kind and of the highest quality will replace and exceed what existed before. I managed to get an appointment with the head of the London Assembly at City Hall. Darren Johnson is leading an investigation into the council estate demolitions.
We're there to hold the mayor to account and to speak up for Londoners.
Boris has said that in order to solve the housing crisis, we need to build more homes. That has now become almost part of the rhetoric to justify regeneration of London housing estates.
Well, the mayor has taken a totally simplistic approach. He said it is just a matter of supply and demand, and that all you need to do is build, build, build. It doesn't matter what type of housing you're building, whether it's luxury apartments that only oligarchs and billionaires can afford, or council housing or whatever. You just need to get the numbers up, and that will solve the problem. Sadly, it's not the case at all. We can't just build our way out of this problem. We need to ensure that we have the right sort of housing, and we also put in place other measures as well, like introducing rent controls in the private rented sector, which could help protect tenants there. We are seeing some perverse decisions actually in terms of estates, perfectly viable, serviceable estates that get demolished as part of some regeneration project. I really do see it as a sort of social cleansing, really.
So if we take, for example, what's happened on the Haygate Estate, promises were broken.
It is just an absolute outrage. I just think it's one of the worst examples of what's happening to